Okay, so today we're going to talk about interfaces. And interfaces are just like the index of a book. You can go to it and you can see what that book has in it. And another way you can think about it as is the minimum requirements something has to have. So if you think about a Carolina student who's majoring in econ, they might have 8 minimum requirement of classes that they have to take, but they can take more than that. So similarly, an interface is associated with a certain thing, so we're going to make a student interface. And when we think about a student, what are the minimum requirements that a student has? What are the things that a student has to have associated with them? And thinking about this, we'll go in and we'll just make an interface. So all you do is public interface student, and you go inside and all you're going to do is have method declarations followed by a semicolon. And that's it. So when we think about a student, we think, okay, a student has to have a name. So we'll say public string get name. A student has to have school, so public string get school. And then student needs to be able to graduate, so public void graduate. And all of those are just followed by a semicolon. Now let's go implement it. So now we're going to make a UNC student class. So normal way of making the class. And then all you have to do is you write implements student, because a UNC student's a student. Now we have this little red X in the left because it says we have to implement the methods of student. So you have to make methods for all those declarations that are in our interface. So you can copy those and paste them in if that helps you, or you can just type them one by one. So then we're just going to type out all those methods that we're required to have. Now we see there's a lot of errors because it's not returning things. That's because we haven't really decided what this UNC student is yet. So let's make an instance variable that's a string called name, and in our constructor, when we make a student, we need to give it a name. So we'll go ahead and set that to the string that we pass in when we construct that student. And then we'll have our getName method return that name. That is our instance variable. Okay, well now getSchool is empty, but we know the student's specifically a UNC student, so we can just have it always return UNC. And that's a string, right? Because our return type's a string. And then public void graduate. We'll have it say, woo, graduation. Awesome. Okay, but UNC students don't just have to be any student. They can have additional methods. Okay, so we're going to also have a method called beatDuke, and it's going to system.out.println running to Franklin Street or rush Franklin Street.
All right, so now let's go to the main method and try it out. And when we're using interfaces, you can either type your variable with the interface or with a class. And the functionality of that variable depends on what you type the variable as. So we're going to use the interface first. We're going to say student Kate equals new UNC student. So this looks different from everything we've seen before. Now the things on the two sides of the equal sign are different. And we've typed this variable using an interface instead of a specific class. And that gives us more flexibility for doing advanced things later that you'll learn all about if you take 401. So now we can system.out.println kate.getName or .getSchool, and things will work just like we expect them to, because we've said that Kate is a student, and the student, anything that implements the student interface has getName or getSchool. But if we wanted to call kate.beatDuke, notice we can't here because we've typed the variable using the interface, and the beatDuke method is not inside that interface. So if we wanted that, if we go back to the top and instead of typing our variable Kate with student, we could type it with the class UNC student, then we would have access to the beatDuke method. Cool, and everything works like we think it will. So part of the point of interfaces is you can make lots of different classes that all implement the same interface. So we have the student interface. We could make something like a Duke student. And the Duke student, if we say implements student, would have to have all the getName, getSchool, and graduate, just like UNC student, because we implement that interface. And we can also add other methods to Duke student that we want, like a cry method or something, that don't have to be implemented in the student interface.